Yeah.
Hey, Brianna. Okay, so this is just an in-depth interview, pretty much talking about like anything there is to know about you. So, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Okay. I'm 18 years old. I now live in Lubbock. I graduated from Morton High School with you. Um, I was salutatorian. You were valedictorian. Um, we did debate together. I love debate a lot. I have a 5-year-old little sister, and I live with my mom. She's a nurse. Uh, we moved around um, a lot when I was in elementary. I've moved from Morton to Lubbock to Alabama and so forth. My mom was in the army, stuff like that.
Cool, cool. All right, so let's just like hop right into your career goals. Um, what when did you decide that you wanted to be a neonatologist?
Well, like I always knew I wanted to. I've only ever wanted to do two things: either be a marine biologist or a neonatologist. Um, when I really wanted to start being a neonatologist, I was probably around 10, and I would be like, I would tell everybody that I want to be a baby doctor, and they never really understood what I was saying, and they were like, "Oh, you want to be a pediatrician?" I'm like, "No, I want to be a baby doctor." And then it really like amplified when my sister was born like, around 7 or 8 weeks premature, and I was able to actually um, become one of those families who relied on these doctors to help save their this infant. And I was like, that's so amazing, an amazing feeling to be able to do that.
All right. Okay, so you've always known, but like from that point on, did you start to like look for more information towards this career?
Yes, probably. I think it was right after like Carissa was born. I was like 13, 14. I was already researching what medical schools that I wanted to go to and how long it would take me. Like I would have to have 4 years undergrad, 4 years medical school, 2 to 3 years internship, and 2 to 3 years fellowship.
And like, what were some of the places that you looked to find information about this?
So really, I just remember Googling like all information on neonatologists. I know there's a website, and I don't know if it's still up. It was like neonatal.com or something like that, and it just had frequently asked questions, and it gave so much in depth information on all the stuff like what it was really about, how it came to become, and the classes and the road you would need to go on.
And like, you're planning to go to Tech, right?
Yes.
After you finish at SBC. Um, do you know like, was it a major selling point like in the fact that Tech is like so much better, or is it because like you have like deep rooted connections with Tech, or is it like a mixture of both?
Probably a mixture of both. My mom, I grew up a huge tech fan, and then I did this upward bound program, and what we would do is we would tour colleges, and we got to tour tech and the health science center, and I fell in love with it. I was like, this is where I need to be. And the health science center, there's so many. There's a neonatal simulator. There's a labor and delivery sim. I just think that's so awesome, and I just love tech.
And like, you're doing a research program with Tech this summer. I know it's not necessarily through the Health Sciences Center, but like, it's through biology, right?
Yes.
How exactly is that going like towards your neonatal?
Well, the way I see it is anything that shows that I'm taking a step towards the science field and also like the medical field, the biomedical field. The way I look at it is it's a step. It looks good on a resume for medical school. It's like even as an undergrad, I'm already working towards my future. Um, with learning more of the concepts, getting more connections with people also in the science field.
All right, like, I know your like main goal is to be a neonatologist, but like if you had to have a fallback plan, what would it be? Would it be like a pediatrician, a researcher, a professor, or what?
Um, I don't really want to be a teacher. So I probably, and I've also thought about this, like if a neonatologist is not the route chosen for me, I would probably go follow my mom's footsteps and be a nurse, but I would still probably be either a pediatric nurse or a neonatal nurse.
Oh, well, also under like neonatal doctoring, would that mean like you would be a surgeon as well, like a certified surgeon, or are you just like diagnosing and treating rather than actually doing?
I think I'm just diagnosing and like treating. I don't think I'm actually I would actually be like a neonatal surgeon. I hope not. I don't. That's not something I want to be. I don't want to do surgery.
Oh, you don't.
No.
All right. Oh, that's cool. Um, so a pediatric nurse, you were saying, or just like a regular nurse?
A neonatal nurse.
Oh, neonatal nurse. All right. Okay. So, what are like your goals in life, both professional and personal? Like starting off with professional.
Well, I'm hoping to, my biggest goal and dream right now is to become a neonatologist. And how I envision it, I want to be one of the best neonatologists, like in the United States. I want to be the person that hospitals call and say that they need me for this critical case. And I want to be the best. I know that's really like braggish, but if you have a goal, you should want to succeed and do very well in it. And I would end up being the first doctor in my family, so that's like a major thing for me. And I just want to be the best neonatologist there is.
Uh, so like you think you would get to travel a lot?
Oh yes, that's another thing. Like when I'm like real rooted in like my job, what I want to do is I want to do Doctors Without Borders, and I want to take a month out of like every year, and I want to go to a place and I want to help like underprivileged children.
Like in different countries, or just like in lesser developed or more lower socioeconomic status places in the U.S. or both? Like,
Both, because I feel like if I'm wanting to do this in other countries, I should also focus more on our country first, because there is we still have a very high infant mortality rate, and that I want to be able to change that or at least help that. So I would probably start with the United States and then go overseas and stuff. I
all
just want to
right.
make a difference.
Yeah, what what countries do you have in mind that you would want to start with, or
Africa,
like any general area in Africa, or?
no, just I just want to help.
All right, that's fine. That's fine. Any other professional goals that you want to talk about? All right. Well then, how about your personal goals? Like, what do you want to do personally?
Um, I hope to like one day, get married and have children.
All right.
I kind of I always envisioned because there wasn't like a real strong male role model in my life. So how I envision my future is I want to be married. I want to get married, have a loving husband, and then have kids who are surrounded by a whole bunch of love and know that they are loved. And I don't want to live in Texas.
Okay. So like, as far as kids go, like I know you being around like so many, unhealthy and just like not not that the kids are defective, just like they have a lot of birth defects. Like being around all of that, would do you think that that would have any effect on your want and desire to have your own kids?
I think that's actually a good question. Um, I've always known that I've wanted kids, and um, I know I don't want them right now. They're definitely far off in the future. um, but I think like with the work that I would be doing, being able to come home to my little family, I think I'd feel so much more. I'd feel grateful for what I have and blessed for what I've been given. So I wouldn't take that for granted.
All right, and Oh, I'll go back to this in a second, actually. And what about like adopting kids? Do you have like a certain amount of kids that you want to have, like of your own, and then adopt some, or just have this many kids, regardless of how they come about? Or
Honestly, I've never really thought super hard on adoption. I think it's a great thing, and what I would probably, I don't know, because like I grow attached to people very easily, but I would want to like foster. But I want I want 3 kids, and really in any way they come about, just to know that they'd be mine is what I would want. But adoption, if it's meant to be, it'll be.
all right. So what I was talking about a second ago, neonatology and like fertility treatment, those kind of like are starting to become more and more like intertwined. Would you ever consider possibly extending your scientific endeavors into the fertility treatment?
Maybe because you're right, it is. They're so closely linked together, because a lot of people who are using these fertility drugs and doing IVF, like a lot of them are, they either have complications and they're much older, that their career and life happened and they just never really stopped to think about them wanting a family. Now that they're older, they do. And when you reach an age after 35, there's a lot more complications with your pregnancy, and a major one is premature birth. So being able to work with that to help their pregnancy go smoother and actually go to term would be something that I would want, because nobody, just because I want to be a neonatologist, I do want, so I want
Like you want the babies to
to
be
go to
fine.
term. Yes, I want them to
Yeah.
go to term. And another thing, like, I'm really interested in genetics. I've always, like, being in my when I took Bio 1, we did a course on genetics, or a chapter, and it was so fascinating to learn how all these different traits, how you become you from all your generations back. So I think I would want to be a neonatologist who also kind of dabbled, if you'd say, in genetics and IV and fertility.
All right. So like you were mentioning, like the biological clock is ticking the closer you get to 35, and then after it becomes like a lot higher risk. How do you feel about like this field now that guys and girls are starting to get married a lot later in life? Like,
I don't I don't really like the people getting pregnant after 35. My mom was pregnant. My mom got pregnant at 35, and you could tell how her body was starting. It wasn't really made to be pregnant at that age. There you have kind of this time. You have this window of opportunity, and with these women getting pregnant later in life, they're not only putting their baby at risk, they're putting themselves at risk too. And you're as you get older, there's premature birth, there's birth defects. After you get to 35, Down syndrome increases, and you also have a chance for multiple babies. And it's just, I'm, I feel like you should plan when you should really want kids, and it shouldn't be when you're like 40. Because and a lot of that comes from seeing all these celebrities getting pregnant, like Janet Jackson saying she's pregnant at 49. That's ridiculous to me, because then you're looking at your child growing up. Children are a handful. I've helped raise my 5-year-old sister, and I'm just like, I do not want to have a child right now. She has definitely helped sway that. But I'm just like, when you get older, you're a lot more tired. I see it in my mom. She gets tired a lot more easily than when she did when she had me at 22. And the older they get, the harder it is to raise these children and to shape them into well-rounded individuals. So honestly, I don't really like that these people are having children at such older ages.
because like you feel like ultimately the child is missing out a little bit.
Yes, their dad can't go teach them how to ride a bike if they're 5 or 6 and their dad is 60.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so would you say that maybe it would be best if like girls started getting pregnant through these um in vitro fertilization processes? Like you think that would be better for them rather than waiting, even if they don't have like a steady male in their life?
If that's a choice, if they are wanting to have kids down the line or right now, and they know that their career is going to take off and they're most likely not going to be able to have kids till later on, I think that it's something that they should consider. And the fact that they don't have a male partner to like help them through this process, I don't believe it's should deter women from that, because you can do a fabulous job being both parents. And that's how I was, because my father was not in my life, and I feel like I turned out fine. I love my mom. I think she did a fabulous job raising me.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. That was really good. It was really really good. All right. So now more like off of that subject, these are more like hypothetical. Like, what would you do? So if money wasn't an object, what would you do? Like,
I know this is really cliche, but I would travel. I would go see the seven wonders of the world. My dream destination is going to Greece. Yes, I've wanted to go there. I'm like, if I get married and I'm successful already, that's going to be where I go for my honeymoon. And I would also like, me and my mom always talk about this. Like, if we ever hit the lottery, um, I'd want to give back to charitable organizations. I want to do, especially the Children's Miracle Network here in Lubbock, because when my mom was in the hospital pregnant with my sister, it was around the time that was going on, and I was able to see the good that actually does for families. And
well, since then, have they like cut it back or like gotten rid of it or what?
no, it's still going on, but you have to think, and they raise a lot of money, but if money wasn't an option, there's always more that needs to be done.
Okay.
There's always more families that are struggling, and even not just with the medicine. Like, there's so many kids who are below the poverty line right now. My sister goes to this school, and they send these snack bags home to these children, because some of them do not get they don't eat until breakfast Monday morning. And I feel like that it's really sad to me, because they didn't choose to live like this. They're first through like fifth grade. They don't really understand. They don't have the means to take care of themselves right now. And I feel like we should step up and do something and help people out. Because, we're always like, the whole United States, we're this so close knit nation, and we're brotherly love and we help each other. That's not what this is anymore. That's not who we are. We don't help our neighbors anymore. And I feel like if I had all the money that if money wasn't an issue, I would do more to try to change that.
Wow. All right. If you were president for a day, what would your okay, maybe not for just a day, but like if you were elected president, what would like your first few orders of business be?
Oh, I'm gonna sound like a big feminist right now, but not really equal rights, because we do have equal rights, but equal pay, because you still see that gender gap, and women do just as good a job as men do. So why aren't they being paid equally?
Well, so would you like maybe consider doing it like both ways to where like yes, females are getting paid more, but also like nationwide, paternity leave is like a standardized thing.
Yes, paternity, there definitely needs to be, and it should be paid maternity and paternity leave, because you need that bonding with your child at those first few weeks, and you shouldn't be penalized for having a child, for starting your family, and then having to take off work.
Mhm.
You know, you're still going to go back and do your job. So why are they not paying you for that? Because, you know,
Yeah.
and I think men should have it too because they also need that. Women can't just stay at home all the time because they need a break too, and that's where the dad steps in and helps too. And honestly, you just need that bonding time for everybody involved.
And it kind of gives them like the best of both worlds because um a lot of women really like lose their ability to move up in a company or whatever because of okay, you're planning to have kids, well take this entry level job or like this data entry job, whereas you're not really going to go up anywhere but you have a steady job. So that's a good.
A lot of a lot of businesses, yeah, they look at women who are in the birthing ages, you know, when
Mhm.
they're mature enough to birth a child, and they're like, well, we know you're most likely going to get pregnant, and they kind of deter women from getting this job because, oh, you know, you're not going to advance in this business. And I don't think that's right just because you're trying to start a family.
Yeah. Any other issues that you would want to address?
Hmm. Um, I don't know. Not right now. I'll probably be thinking of some now.
All right. Well, I mean, like we can come back to that question if you want later. Um, so if you had the opportunity to redo anything in your life, what would it be?
Right now, it would be, you know, I haven't really lived that much,
Mhm.
but this is going to sound so silly, but I would want to do debate over. Like, I would want to work harder, probably focus on, like, not think of extemp as a big joke at the very beginning.
Oh yeah.
And then also, when I was taking dual credit classes in high school, I should have been more. I mean, I've always looked as, you know, I have my goals and I know how to get there. So I've always been one like, I need to make good grades. But
Hmm.
doing college and high school and debate and sports and trying to have a life at the same time, I let things fall through the cracks and I probably shouldn't have done that. Or I
So
let the
like,
wrong things fall through the
so like
cracks.
prioritize a little
Mhm.
better. All right. Anything else?
What was the question?
Like what if you had the chance to? What would you redo?
I've always okay. So when my sister was born, we had the opportunity to move back to Arkansas, and that's where my grandparents live. And it's always been like, but my mom said it was my choice because she wasn't going to move me after I started high school. Like I started high school is where I was going to graduate from. And sometimes I just like, I wonder like, what if I would have moved to Arkansas, I probably would have had an easier life. I would have gone to a better school. But then I think of all the opportunities that I did have going to Morton, meeting you, going to state and CX, going so far in CX, putting a stamp, putting Morton on the map of they're better, you know, there are still good things about Morton.
Mhm.
So I don't regret not going, but it's kind of like a what if kind of thing.
Yeah.
But there's been many positives staying in Morton.
And like you said, since you are so young and like you haven't yourself done much, like is there anything maybe differently that you wish like not that your mom did anything bad, but like is there anything that you maybe would have wished she had done differently?
There's it's either okay, it's kind of two, but it's either or, you know.
Mhm.
One, I wish because she was in the military and she took a semester at SBC, which I just found out right after college, and then she didn't feel like college was right for her right then, and then she went into the army, and so she went at like 19 to like 24, and she got out after she had me, or a couple years after she had me. I wish she probably would have stayed
Mhm.
because she would have been retired last 2 years ago or last year. She would have retired in 2014 or 2015, and we would have been more financially stable. She would have had a good career, and it was something that she enjoyed. But then again, you look at 9/11 happened and she would have been deployed and
Yeah.
I would have been without my mom, and who knows if my sister would have come along.
Mhm.
So there's some aspects I'm like, that would have been a better option, because I saw my mom struggle, and I think that's why I'm so goal oriented, because I don't want to end up like that. I
Mhm.
love my mom and she did an amazing job.
Yeah.
But I don't want to struggle like she did. And if she didn't go to the army, I wish she would have like right off the bat gone to college and really figured out that her passion was nursing
Mhm.
and helping. Because I saw her almost be a court reporter, and I thought that was her passion. And I've seen her do many jobs, but I've never seen like how much she loves nursing. I just wish she would have found that earlier in life.
Mhm.
Because then again, we would have been probably more financially stable, and she would have been happier sooner. Because that's all
Yeah.
that
Like
I'm-
there would have been less time of struggle. Yeah.
And just, I'm very family oriented. Like
Mhm.
family is everything to me, and I love when my mom tells me how much she enjoyed her day at work, or I just wish I would have seen that earlier on.
Mhm.
I think that would have been better.
Good answer. That was really good. It was. All right. Okay, so this is really the big question that I've been leading up for. Okay, so me and you as debate partners, a lot of times, specifically politics, this adds right. So a lot of the time we've had to talk about like politics and how Democrats and Republicans, how they have the different opinions and how they affect just really so many things. Like it's a universal effect, right? So I know that you are more democratic in like your viewpoints. So I just want to like pick your brain about a few things, and like feel free, completely judgment free zone, no conflict. I'll just listen. I promise. Okay, so like what are your thoughts on? Let's start with the cliche one, abortion.
Um. Oh. Oh. Um. I knew a woman who had an abortion, and then one of my friends, I helped her through her abortion. And honestly, like the people that I know who have had abortions, some people say that, oh, you're just you don't want to be a mom or something. But honestly, these women were not ready to be a parent. They weren't financially stable. They weren't in the right mindset. If their child, they would have ended up resenting their child a little bit. I mean, they would have loved them anyway. Who doesn't love your child? But they chose the better option.
Yeah.
Because they looked at it as like, this child would not have a good life. So, I mean, personally, I'm all for you should do what you feel is right for you. You shouldn't have everybody judging you. There shouldn't be these. I'm gonna get mad. There shouldn't be Trump. There shouldn't be people like Trump saying that all women who have abortions should be punished, because he doesn't know all that went in and how much back and forth that went into that decision and how guilty they felt. Because one of my friends, I saw the toll it took on her to make that decision, and it wasn't an easy decision, but in the long run, it was the best decision because she was 18. She was too young to have a child. She's 20, but still. So really, like my opinion on abortion is, if it's right for you, and it all depends on the circumstances. If to me, like I've never been put in that position too, so I don't really know from my viewpoint like what I would do. It would all just depend on the circumstances that were involved with making that decision. Would it be best for? Because you can't just think about yourself. You have to think of you'd be carrying another life. You'd be bringing another life into this world, and everyone's like, oh, I want what's best. I want a better life. Well, if you can't provide that right now, you shouldn't do it. So really, it's just my view is do what you think is best for yourself and how you would want your child to live.
All right, and I'm not like I'm trying to change your opinion. This is just like a common like discussion point. Maybe like better sexual education, maybe in public schools. do you feel like maybe there should be like a limit on your recreational or voluntary abortions maybe, and like at that point push adoption more, push better sexual education?
Oh god, yeah, because there's in my government class, we were discussing unplanned pregnancy because I'm going to use this. It's the root cause for so many things that are wrong in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Because our poverty rate, our crime rate, our low education. I can give you statistics on this because that's what I'm learning right now. And what we were discussing one time that this woman had like 6 or 7 abortions.
Mm-hmm.
She was using abortion as a form of birth control, and that infuriates me because it's being careless and it's being idiotic. Like, no, grow up, learn how. There are so many other preventative ways to not have.
Like at that point is when it becomes abusive.
Yes, that's wrong because that's why people have such a negative connotation about abortions because they're like, oh, you're just doing this because you accidentally got pregnant and you don't want to be pregnant. Mm-hmm. They're just using that as a contraception, and I'm just like, that's not right.
Yeah.
So yeah, at that point, I was just, that makes me mad. There are, and again, most people don't have 6 or 7 abortions. They should learn that after one time, if this is not what you should be, smarter. And that's the thing, we don't have a sex ed class. Mm-hmm. I think my class was called life or health class, and we didn't really talk about sex ed. I think I talked about it more in my government class this semester, and I'm a sophomore in college.
Anything else you want to add on that topic?
It's just with because like I was saying, that's one of the main reasons that's so wrong with our society now is because there's so many girls really getting pregnant. We have more girls in high school getting pregnant, and 40% of them drop out, or 40% of them drop out. And then that helps with the poverty rate because they're not going to be able to find a good job. These little girls don't have dreams, I feel like. And I don't know. That makes me sad. That hurts me because I'm just like, you should always want something better. Like, you shouldn't want to stay in this town. Mm-hmm. There's nothing to offer you. Just dream big. And that will lead you to doing better in school if you have that goal in mind. If you look at that, like, that's where I'm going to be. Yeah. And I feel like not many people these days have that.
Well, that's actually a really good transition to like our next topic. So like you were saying, it eventually like hinders their ability to grow and develop educationally and like have a good financially stable career and stuff like that. So they would eventually end up working like an entry level job, not necessarily just McDonald's, but like other jobs where you would say get minimum wage, right? How do you feel about raising the minimum wage? Maybe not necessarily to 15 like they're protesting, but a little more. How would
it needs to be raised because $7.25, that's minimum wage, right? $7.25, $7.50. You can't live off that. Like, that's not, even being poor, you cannot live off that. You cannot be able to afford rent and your bills and also find a way to get to a job. That's not, and on top of food and stuff, that's not living. Mm-hmm. That's helping with the chain of poverty and how screwed up our society is because they're not able to really survive now. We have so many homeless people. We're America, the land of opportunities, land to grow. You can't really grow with $7.25 an hour.
So you feel like right now it's really kind of just like elongating and like kind of making worse the problem of poverty?
Yes, definitely.
All right.
And I don't really agree with $15 an hour because that's, it's a little high. And because then I saw this thing. I know this is really gonna sound weird, but I saw this thing on Facebook, and it was like cops or firefighters or whatever make like $19 an hour. So somebody working at McDonald's, oh, whatever. Well, okay, I know this one. My mom, if she was working a day shift job at the prison, she'd be making $19 an hour. So somebody at McDonald's is making 15, and then a nurse who has had education and who has student loans because she went to college is only making a $4 difference. I know that's not. It doesn't. That still seems like a big jump, but honestly, from helping people to serving people, I don't really feel like that's.
And like, how long was your mom in school?
She had to be for her LVN. She was a year of nursing school, and it was like 2 years to get her prereqs to get into nursing school.
So like 3 years,
Mm-hmm.
and she's only making $4 more than pretty much any person over the age of 14.
Yeah.
All right. Wow.
And then you're thinking like, with that, she had to take out loans, to pay for her to have a better education.
Yeah.
That I'm just like, I don't really see how that's right.
Now, do you feel like maybe raising the minimum wage for people who are working these more entry level jobs, that as like a trade off maybe, or like another effect would be like everything else raises, like your mom would then make say like $25 an hour, and like everything at the store would cost like $6 more. Do you think that that's a realistic possibility?
If it is, then that's honestly really stupid. If minimum wage raises and everything else raises with it, then you're back to where we started. We're back to still a whole bunch of people below the poverty line, because just because their minimum wage raised, they're still not able to afford everything because everything else jumped really high. But not that you have to have inflation and all that. There has to be growth. You kind of have to find a balance between both.
So maybe not like double current minimum wage, but like raise it up just a little bit, make it more reasonable.
Yes, enough where more people can live, not say like middle class, but they can live like a decent job, life.
All right. Maybe like another cliche one, just to like keep things rolling really nice. How do you feel about legalizing marijuana? Or maybe not so much legalizing it as much as even like having it declassified as like a category 1 substance, to where like infractions are a lot less severe.
Um, I think for like an economic standpoint, I think it would actually be beneficial, because if you look at like the drug war now, like how many people are using or who are using marijuana, um, under behind closed doors. But then if they were actually able to tax it and sell it, I think it would be beneficial for our economy.
Mm-hmm.
And now there are benefits to it. Not that it's still a drug and it's still bad.
Yeah.
But it can like relieve some stress and some pain through that.
Mm-hmm.
I personally do not like marijuana, but I don't like cigarettes. I think everything like those are bad for your body and just really shouldn't be used. But then again, it's not heroin.
Yeah.
It's not crack cocaine. So it's not like, it's not as severe. It's not, but it shouldn't be the same. Like, there's more people in our prisons for a drug use.
So like minor drug use.
Yes,
yeah.
for murdering somebody. That's why most of our prisons are drug related. Our inmates are with drug related crimes. And I'm just like.
So you do think that maybe it should be like decategorized rather than legalized?
Yeah, it shouldn't be that major of a penalty for being caught with it.
Yeah, because like there's not necessarily many harms that come from it, as like you stated, heroin or crack cocaine. Like I understand there are a lot worse alternatives.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to mention on that? Or I guess while we're on it, let's talk about the prison systems. If we were to declassify it, right, that would mean obviously a lot of people would be like let go. Do you feel like we should have some sort of prison reform in the United States where like the conditions are maybe like fixed or lowered, or does that take you any like to any other possible topic maybe?
It takes me back to what I would do if I was president.
All right.
Okay, everyone should know if they don't know. Our prisons are broken. Our prison system is broken.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you firsthand because my mom works in a prison that these inmates, okay, so she works with the Mumford prison, which is a health facility, or a health prison, or a hospital prison. And the psychiatric ward, most of those patients aren't getting the treatment they need.
Mm-hmm.
They aren't able to see therapists or be on the right medication to help them. One guy took out his eyeballs because he didn't want to see the figures, people anymore, the people in his head. He's not getting the right treatment he needs. And a major part of that is because these officers and these nurses who work over there, they think he's faking it because a lot of people on the side fake their illness,
Mm-hmm.
fake that they have a schizophrenia or something like that, and that kind of upsets me because you're taking away from people who actually really do need help. And another reason that our prison system is so broken is we're not helping rehabilitate these people back into society. There's people who have been in prison for 20 years. The world has changed a lot in 20 years. That's up my lifetime. We've gotten cell phones, we've gotten smartphones, Facebook, and not even just like integrate them like in socially, but making them. We're not helping them find a job for them. You know, if you help them become better Samaritans and rehabilitate them, that way they know what they did was wrong and that they have paid their price, but they've been helped too. They've not just been thrown away and put under lock and key. They because my teacher said that they do it in Europe. They rehabilitate them. The crime rate or their second offenders or two-time offenders is a lot lower because you're actually taking the time to work with these individuals because they are still people. You know, they did do a wrong thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, they deserved to be in prison, but they also deserve to be helped because like 80% of the people do get let out.
Mm-hmm.
And when they let out, and if they've been treated badly in the prison system, they're more likely to do a worse crime than what they did going in. So that's our prison system is so broken, and it's way overcrowded, and uh, it really needs to be. But we can't because rehabilitating these individuals takes so much time and money. Like I think they said each one is like $100,000.
But then again, if we were to declassify marijuana, maybe then overcrowding is solved for, and then there's more resources that could be put into those individuals that are in need of rehabilitation.
Yeah, because I mean, it's gonna sound really awful,
Mm-hmm.
but child molesters. If you look at that, if you see that, like put them in front of a therapist, and that therapist actually works with them, and you break down that outer shell, you will see that most of these people who molested these children were molested as children. Like it's actually like like if you look at that and you look back down the road, that's what you see.
So like a cycle of
Mhm.
abuse is what you're saying.
Yes, but they were never helped. They were never. That was their coping mechanism, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So what we need to do is we need to um, help them really, and we're not doing that. We're just letting them serve their time, being treated like dirt because they are in the prison. And again, like they do deserve. Because you touch my little sister and I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah.
But you also shouldn't treat them like they're animals or less than anything because they are still they are still human. We're supposed to treat everybody fairly, you know, and that's not what's happening right now.
And like in an instance like that where it is, say, a child molester or whatever, are you one of the like, are you a person who believes that sexual preference and orientation is like a personal choice, or do you think that it's like a maybe like a natural thing that we were born with? Does that make sense? Am I asking it clearly?
Are you talking about like with child molestation or with
Well, just
like
sexual orientation
homosexual?
and sexual preference altogether. Do you think that it's a choice, or do you think that they're born with that preference or orientation?
Well, with like homosexuality, my opinion is they can't help that. I think they were born with that
Hmm.
because we all. How I look at it is what person would choose to be picked on so much that they take their own life? Because that's what's happening in our schools.
Hmm.
Because of who they like, because they like somebody of the same sex, they're being bullied so harshly and picked on and abused that they end up taking your own life. So why would you? Why would somebody choose that? That's how my like. I feel like they don't choose to be humiliated, and because if they would want to fit in
Hmm.
and be the normal just so they can survive. Because high school is rough on anybody, especially if you're different.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that they would choose to be that differently. Now with this like child molesters, I don't really think that they were like born into like that was something that they were born with. Want like having a fascination for 10-year-old boys and girls,
Hmm.
but I think that someone took their innocence and they were abused, and I think that's kind of how they it's like you said, it's a cycle, it's a repeating cycle. So then they feel like that's the only thing they can do. But I don't think anybody like. Then again, you're like, where does it actually start?
And not to not to equate homosexuals to a child molester because they are by no means the same thing, but following the same standard that you stated, like who would subject themselves to that sort of humiliation, that stigma attached with being a molester or a pedophile, you know?
That's what, yeah. Because then I was like, well, where did it first start? You can't with the first person who was ever, So down the line, like now, I think it's not really like I don't think somebody would choose that. But
But in
wait,
some instances, it would be situational.
yeah, because some people really just we all have a preference for what we like, and I
Hmm.
guess some people would see that see a 10-year-old as like me seeing a 20-year-old, you know. But it's also like if you act on those actions or on those thoughts and feelings,
Hmm.
you know. And
Well, like the biggest point from that was if like now that we've discussed it more thoroughly, do you feel like that could pose a bigger obstacle for maybe rehabilitating these child molesters? Because it's essentially the same thing as your mental health patients that you were talking about, who's faking it and who actually does need help, you know?
yeah, that is true.
I just feel like rehabilitation is a very good idea. It's just there's so many places that we can start, but there's never really a finish to it, I feel.
Because we really don't know how to finish because we've never actually given it a true shot for us to see the long term effects it has on especially people in the prison system.
Hmm.
So I don't. You make that's like a really good point. I didn't really think about it
Well,
being.
this was just an excellent discussion altogether. Um, let, yeah, let's just keep going on this. This is really good. So maybe let's talk about gun control. How do you feel about gun control? What are your thoughts on?
Um, I think people should have. Uh, my mom, like my grandparents, they have guns. I've never like held a gun before, let alone shot a gun. I know that's something my mom like wants me and my sister to do for a protection standpoint, And I do feel like I mean you don't need oh my god that was very bad grammar. I'm sorry. You don't need AK-47s and machine. You don't need those type of automatic weapons. But I think families and people should be able to have uh, guns in like their house and on their person some places. We'll get to that in a minute. Just for like a protection standpoint, because it is like when I was in the car or in a place with my grandparents and they did have a gun, you do have that sense of like protection feeling over yourself because you're like, I know that if something does happen, that I have something that I will be able to use to protect myself and protect my loved ones. Because if there's something happening, I want to be able to stand up and protect them. Because I don't know how to fight. I don't know how any really other way to protect myself. So with that, I think it is people should have their guns. And we live in Texas. We like our guns. We're all about hunting or just having them. And it should be their choice of whether or not they feel comfortable with that. Because it is to me it would be more of a safety sense of security.
Yeah.
Now we'll see about this coming fall about how it all panned out with guns being you can close carry on campus.
Mm-hmm.
That has me like a little nervous. Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna lie, because nobody else has ever done it, so we really don't have any other like country to really look at to see. Oh, okay, they were able to do this. These were the benefits. This were the pros and cons.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows? I mean, it could help with school shootings. My teacher said last semester that there were more school shootings than there were school days so far. Yeah, and these are innocent kids going. If it's high school, they have to be there for their education, and then in college, like they're choosing to do this. Like they had no part in any of this, and but then you're thinking. Bad people have always have access to guns,
mm-hmm.
and weapons, and now it'll be okay for them to, not that, if a bad person, they're not supposed to have a weapon, but they'll be able to walk on campus freely with that weapon, so
like now there's no way to distinguish between this person carrying a gun is a bad guy and this person carrying a gun is a good guy.
Yeah, and it's just, to me, it's going to be very interesting and a little nerve-wracking to see how it all plays out, because like I said, we don't know how, there's school shootings now, and open carry, closed carry is not legal on campus, but it's about to be, so it's a little nerve-wracking.
Do you have anything else on that? All right, so you mentioned something in there, and it was really good about the school systems and how kids are required to be there, and that potentially puts their life in danger. Now, I know that's not necessarily the effect that they were planning when they instated this rule, but do you have any suggestions as to what maybe could be fixed, like how you would fix it, or just things in general that need to be fixed in the public education system?
Standardized testing.
All right,
I think it's stupid. It's crap. There are some, like, I have very bad test anxiety. So when it comes to me, a major test, I start to freak out and I don't think clearly. Mm-hmm. So, you make mistakes. And there's kids who are just like that. Like, test anxiety is a real thing, and it's common among kids. And we're putting so much pressure on these kids to do well so they can pass and graduate. And what we're doing is teachers aren't teaching anymore, or they're not doing it in a way that kids are actually learning what they need to learn. They're learning to the test. They're only working on, this is going to be on the test, this is all you need to know. And when you put like such a major deal in front of kids' faces, I feel like it deters them from wanting to go to school, because they're like, I know all I'm going to do is learn to the test. They don't make it fun anymore. And it's also it's a lot harder. Like, the STAR test is a lot harder than what we took for the TAKS test. Their first graders are learning stuff that we learned in third grade. And I'm just like, I get it's because we are so low on out of the nations, we are very poorly in our English, math, and science. But I feel like there's a better way to do it than forcing kids to take this test and making it where if you fail it, you don't graduate. Because they could be doing so well, they could be making A's and B's throughout the school year, and they come to this test and they, let's just say they have an off day. We're human, we make mistakes, we don't feel like learning one day, or we don't feel like doing anything, and one day shouldn't define you a whole year. I feel like they need to look more at what they've done throughout the year than just one test.
While we're still on the topic of standardized testing, like Texas specifically, you're right. We have the STAR test, and it's now in its official 5th year of administration or whatever.
Because we were the guinea pigs.
Right. So they still haven't. They're still trying to figure out some issues, and I know that obviously for a test that is testing so many kids, and it's going to have so many variables and different factors that they're going to have to tinker with, but they still haven't really gotten it down. Do you feel like maybe they should scrap it and start over, or just go back to tax maybe, or?
Well, I didn't really see what was so wrong with the tax test. I had taken tax up, from when did we start first grade up until they removed it when we were freshmen. And but you're right, like it's in the, because we started it when we were freshmen, we had to take a test for every class that we took, and then they brought it down to 5, and then I read something on Facebook the other day that were like, oh, you don't have to pass all your STAR tests to graduate. They're not.
Like they just keep modifying it. There's no way to come up with
There's not a set thing. Every year is different.
For a standardized test, there's no absolute standards.
Yeah. Yes, and that's not right because that's putting so much pressure on teachers, so much pressure on students. Like, I don't know if they should scrap it because then again, you put 5 years of work, and it wouldn't be fair for the kids who are like a junior or a sophomore having to switch again. Even though they are still switching, it's still like the same core test, that they're used to, because switching from tax to STAR, it was a big adjustment. We went from having all day to take a test to only 4 hours. And then we went from it being on paper and us bubbling answers to it on computer. So I don't think they should scrap it. I think they really just need to find a common ground among everything, because they shouldn't, because that'd be hurting the students, because then you're like, oh my gosh, now I got to learn this new thing. I'm already pressured. They need to get it right, but I don't know. I don't have an answer on how they should get it right. Tax test to me was fine.
Yeah.
And I don't like the whole 4 hours thing, because you're looking at, okay, you're in high school and you're in an English class, and an English teacher says you cannot write this, you won't be able to write this essay the night before. But then you're only giving a student 4 hours to write a paper. And the teacher's right, you're not going to turn in your best work the night before. You're going to be rushed. You're going to turn in slop.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have time to have an outline and really think about what ideas you want to put into a paper. You can't do that in 4 hours because you are so stressed and pressured with time. 4 hours goes by very quickly when you're having to write a 500 or 1,000 word paper. And you have to think about your main idea and your points and all that needs to go into writing a good, clean paper that will get you to passing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, they need to fix it.
So, you made some mention while we were talking about this about teachers and how they're teaching to the test and stuff like that. So now we're going to talk about the curriculum that they're doing, So when they switched from tax to STAR, they obviously adjusted the curriculum. Kids in 3rd grade are now learning what we learned in 6th grade or whatever, what you were saying. Do you think, this could be a potential benefit if they were to scrap STAR, that they would come up with new curriculum to teach, and it could be a lot better. But as of right now, do you feel like the curriculum that they're teaching and that the students are learning is actually beneficial to them?
Okay. Beneficial in life? to help them in life or just to help them to pass?
Um, I guess probably in life, because I mean, like you stated, you can teach them to pass, but passing isn't necessarily going to mean you're successful in other areas of life.
That's true. We took a biology test our freshman year. And I passed it because I was taught to the test, but I went into my Bio 1 class not having a clue about anything. So basically, I had to work so extremely hard because I didn't really learn biology in high school. And like they're putting so much pressure that as soon as the test is over, a whole year is gone. Because you kind of have like tunnel vision. You're just seeing that test, and once you're out, all of it's gone. You forget everything you've learned. But okay, this is gonna sound really like, I don't want to say cliche, but it's gonna sound silly. I think we need to have like a class in schools, and it should be a required class, a required course that teaches kids about life. We need to teach kids how to write a resume, how to write a scholarship letter, what are taxes, how to pay tax, like things that you actually need to know as an adult. That way we're just not being thrown in, because that's what we're doing. We're just teaching these. I think it should be, I wouldn't say an elective, but maybe take out an, I know that sounds bad, but take out maybe an elective and putting like a life class, because that way kids are more prepared to deal with life, and that way they don't falter and stumble so much. I mean, I get you need to struggle and you need to fall down so you can rise up and do better, but I don't know how to pay taxes.
Like throwing them out to the wolves isn't.
Yes. The only reason I learned how to write a resume and scholarship letter was because of this program that I was in. School did not teach me that. You should learn how to give a formal interview and things that you need to start off with, to be able to grow and stuff. And we're not being taught that. We're, like you said, we're being thrown to the wolves, and you do good for you. If you don't, well, there's your first failure. Or there's your first life lesson.
Yeah.
And I think it would probably help a lot more kids, because then, a lot of these people, like, they don't have this big old dream, and so as soon as things get hard, they give up. So maybe this life to teach that, life sucks. You're not always going to be the big winner, but, you still got to keep pushing forward and thinking of the big, big picture, not just short-term goals, but you have to have long-term, like years down the road. And that might also help with kids actually having a dream and having goals. I think it's like you need to know what you want to do. You need to know you need to know your major, like the area you want to go in by your senior year, because that will help you with classes.
And even if you change it, having some place to
start yes.
is better than nothing. Yeah.
You shouldn't just be going in like, well, I don't know what to take, because then
you're pumping money into something that's not actually useful.
Yeah, because I'm totally fine with people changing their majors, because they figured out that, oh, this is not what I really wanted to do. So let me go into, oh, this is actually, but you need to have a starting point. And these people because if you don't have that if you don't have like, oh, I'm going to college, even just going to college, you're just going to stay home. You're going to stay in the same town that does not have any benefits for you.
Do you say that, like, students nowadays, maybe not necessarily just students, but like teenagers and kids all together, just have a lot less drive and motivation in pretty much every area?
Yeah. Yes. It's insane. I don't know, because me and you, we've always known that we were gonna get out of Morton. We were gonna make it big. We were gonna make something of ourselves. So when I see people who are like, I don't know, I might go to college, or when I see other people in our class not do anything, I'm just like, how do you do that? How do you not have like a plan for your life, or how do you just go with the flow? Because doing that doesn't help you in the long run. Like, this is a long life. You should know what you want. General consensus of what you want to do with it, especially when you're given opportunities. And yeah, when I see these people, they're just like, oh, I might go to college. I'm just like, you should. And I get college is not for everybody.
Yeah.
So I'm not stressing everyone go to college because, college is not the right fit for everybody. But you should still want to do something.
Mm-hmm.
Not just, oh, I got my diploma from high school and that's all the school I'm going to do. And that's a lot of these kids or these people, they're just like, oh, I did that. That was pretty good. That's not going to get you anywhere.
Would you think maybe like as kids more so now than like when we were actually kids and participating in competitive events such as like little dribblers, little youth football leagues or little cheerleaders or whatever. Back then you actually had to compete for stuff, and I bet every generation says this, like, oh, you don't have to work as hard as we do. But especially now more than ever, it's becoming more of a thanks for showing up. Participation is all that matters. Do you think that has a great effect on it?
Well, yeah, because like you said, people are getting all they're handing out is like participation medals. Competition is good. People who say that competition is like detrimental are stupid. Because you need that competitive drive. You need that because when you're competitive for something, you care about it. You want to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
If it is little dribblers, oh heck, my team's going to be first and I'm going to be MVP. You should want that. And with wanting that, then it turns into, okay, I'm going to be top of my class, or I'm going to make 100 on this test.
Mm-hmm.
It follows you. If somebody's like a born competitive person, that doesn't go away after like sports or academics are over. Then you just move on to bigger and more important things, like, okay, I'm going to pass this class with an A, and you strive for that. That's what competition is. You're striving and you're um, working hard because you have something in mind that you really want.
Mm-hmm.
And that when you want something, you're gonna put your best work for. You're gonna do your best work. So yeah, people who say competition is, they're stupid.
Well, I personally would agree. So I guess before we just wrap up the interview, let's circle back to our question that we sort of tabled earlier. Which I mean, you kind of brought it back all on your own earlier. Are there any other actions that you would take as a president?
I would try to. I feel like kids need to have those years where you're just playing outside, where you're being a kid, and technology is making that impossible.
Mm-hmm.
I see my 5-year-old sister. She still wants to play outside sometimes, but she would much rather watch Netflix or be on her Kindle.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate that because you need to be a kid. And that also goes with how bad these little kids are nowadays. Mm-hmm. I don't know, like you said, every generation says that. But these kids, there's so many like juveniles that are awful.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes along with, oh, you can't spank your kid anymore. I'm like, no, spanking is, to me, it was beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get spanked very often. I think I probably only got spanked like 3 times in my life, 3 or 4 times in my lifetime. But after I got spanked, I was like, okay, I cannot do that anymore because I do not want to do that. These parents who are just saying no or not, they're letting their kids walk all over them, and then they're putting bad people into society.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how you would do this as a president, but I think it should be more, kids need to be kids. They
Mm-hmm.
need to be playing in the mud and playing in water and scraping up their knees and having, because those are memories that you take with you. I still remember making mud pies, and I remember riding a bike and being a kid, and now they're going to remember, oh, I remember watching Netflix and being on a couch.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I wouldn't know how you would do that, but that's something that needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
Because then it makes you, it in turn leads with your attitude, and how you are as a person, and that helps with society. So
Anything else you want to add?
this is a nice interview.
It was. I mean, thank you so much. Do you have any questions about anything or?
No, I hope it was enough.
Oh,
I hope it was good.
Brianna, thank you so much. It was excellent. Thank you. You answered all of the questions very, very well, and I appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Thank you.